So, I mean, and there's so many powerful and slightly risque themes and moments. And I wonder if there was ever any discussion in the studio or pushback against any of it, any decisions you guys made specifically. I mean, like they could have easily went, hey guys, we can't have a song called Hellfire,
Right.
that kind of thing. Was there anything that you guys wanted to do that they went, no, that's too much?
Well, okay, so when Paul and Gaetan originally boarded Hellfire, and you see Esmeralda dancing in the fire, right? This
Yes.
this figure of her dancing.
A little kind of stripper like a little bit.
What's that?
A little stripper like, kind of, sort of.
She was nude in the drawings,
Yeah.
in the and we attributed it to them being French. They said, yeah, they're French.
Yeah, that's it.
But we knew, and Roy Disney said, you're going to make sure that she's got clothes on, and so I sat with the with the head of effects. I worked with the effects team very closely, so I sat with the head of effects, and we went through every effects drawing, of Esmeralda on fire, and made sure she was dressed every single drawing. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have mind if it had been, more of this dark fantasy with, like Paul and Gaetan had envisioned. But yeah, okay, we'll do this. And then when it got to the ratings board, because we thought, okay, so this got by Roy and it got by Michael and it got by Tom and Peter and us, and so we're all okay with it, and it's done, and it's gorgeous, but it'll knock your socks off. What is the ratings board going to say? And ultimately, they said they were only uncomfortable with the word sin, because when Frollo's got that scarf, and he says, "This burning desire is turning me to sin," and he sits down, and those red robed judges whoosh up, and they said, "Turning to sin, huh?" Well. And we said, well, we can't really re-record it because it's animated and in color and recorded and everything, but we can play with the sound levels. So we just upped to the sound effects of the whoosh of the judges, and we dropped the vocal performance of the word sin. So turning me to like that.
Yeah.
You can still kind of hear it, but it's ducked enough that it satisfied the rating boards, and they let it go through. And Tab Murphy, the writer, said, Hunchback of Notre Dame is the most R-rated G movie you'll ever see.
No, that makes sense. And Tony J in that song. Wow.
Yeah.
Were you in any of the recording sessions for these songs?
Yeah.
What about Hellfire? Were you in it for Hellfire too, or no?
Yes.
I had heard Tony took extra voice lessons in order to adjust his natural singing range to hit the final note in that song. Is that true?
I think he did. I think he might have. I mean, he didn't on the spot. That was like kind of on the outside, but he did hit those. Stephen and Alan, they put him through the ringer on that. But Tony delivered.
In my opinion, you, Kirk, Alan, Stephen, Tony, all of you guys created one of the best Disney villain songs of all time. I think it probably tops Be Prepared in my book. I'm kind of curious. When was the first time you started receiving music from Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz for the film? And when you got it, what were your initial thoughts when you stopped and listened to it? Did you feel like it was like you had lightning in a bottle?
I mean, we had all worked with Alan before, so we knew how he worked, and we knew how good he was and how good he is. And not having worked with Stephen, but aware of his musical portfolio, of his pedigree, so we knew that he was going to be someone good. The studio had been searching for a worthy replacement for Howard for some time. In my opinion, they've never found it. Howard is like one of those talents that comes along every 100 years or so. But Stephen was really, really damn good. And they had ideas for music when we were going through the storyboards and the script pages and all that. And there were places where we didn't think of for songs. He said, "I think I can help you here. I think we can, if we put a song here, this can maybe bridge this a little bit better than what you're doing with this scene." And great, let's do that. So they were in very early in the process. if not actually with the music in mind, they were spotting music, like where music could go. So we were aware of where their thoughts for music were, you know. So like the opening number, you know, Frollo chasing down Quasimodo's mother, and you know, the front of the cathedral and the archdeacon, and we didn't. I mean, that wasn't necessarily a choral spot. It's not really a song, but I mean, as far as a musical moment, I think for our temp music, we were using the Requiem Mass from Mozart there and boarding it to that. And so Stephen said, "Okay, I see where you're going here." And then, you know, he did his, and he was very big on the, you know, the Latin and liturgical aspect of the music to go with with Notre Dame, and we were fine with that. So that's kind of how it went. You know, sometimes we would have a piece of temp music that would let Stephen springboard from. Sometimes he came to us and said, "I think this is a good place for music. I think it should be like this." And you know, one of the most valuable lessons I learned early on in my career from Chuck Jones, of all people, was let your people do their job. Don't try and do it all for them, because they're probably better at it than you are. You know, let them do it, and they'll make you look good. You know, so you know, keeping an open mind to this kind of thing was pretty important to us.
So at that point, you and Kirk had two quite incredible animated feature films under your belt, both of which made the studio a lot of money and contributed to the golden age of 90s 2D animation. Did you guys have free reign to make whatever movie you wanted after that, or were you still at the mercy?
You know, I mean, ultimately, I guess we did have free reign, or free-ish reign, but you know, the thing with Disney is you work and you work and you work, and you know, they'll yell at you and harangue you, and then you do good and you're king for a day or a week or whatever, and then when that wears off, you take the crown off, you put the dunce cap back on, and you know, it's back to work. And
there's another king 2 weeks after that.
There's another king coming. Yeah, get off the throne. This guy's yeah. So but after Hunchback, we were kind of sitting back and like taking it easy for a little bit, because we could, and the studio was letting us. And it was Don Hahn that said, "Look, guys, if you want to keep this team together," and that was always a priority for us. And that was always one of the saddest parts about these films, is you get this great team together that, you know, you've worked with and communicated with, and you know them and they know you, and then boom, they're gone. You know, it just spread to the winds. But the opportunity to keep the team together, and also Don said, if you want to do something, if we want to do another movie, now is the time to figure out what we want to do, rather than have the studio tell us what they want us to do. So that led to the much storied meeting in a Mexican restaurant with Don, Kirk, Tab Murphy, and myself, and figuring out that we were going to do Atlantis.